setting up webinar for Facebook Live. Give me a second.
Yeah. Good. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 15th MAC Springs Municipal Advisory Council meeting. It's nice to see everyone. I'm glad you're all here. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:30. Si necesitan interpretación, en la parte de abajo hay un icono que dice interpretación. Si escogen, pueden escoger la idioma español para escuchar esta presentación en español. Muchísimas gracias. So I'll do roll call. Vice Chair Ray Willett.
Here.
Council Member Ryan Lely.
Here.
Council Member Iris Lombard.
Here.
Council Member Avram Goldman.
Here.
Council Member Mari-Carmen Reyes.
Here.
And Council Member Wheatley and Conlon are not here this evening. So we'll do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the November 24th meeting?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Council Member Lely and Council Member Willett. Lely first, Willett second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. Is there any public comment on items that are not on the agenda?
At this moment, any members of the audience who wish to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature and you will be allowed to make your comment. Para los miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario público, por favor, usen la aplicación de levantar mano y se les otorgará el permiso para hacer su comentario. I don't see any raised hands at this moment.
Okay, great, we'll move on. So just very quick update. The Latinx COVID-19 task force, we meet Friday mornings, and Karina is there, Mari-Carmen is there, representation from city and county is there. We have nonprofit representation, business representation, all working on finding ways and strategies to help the Latino community because of the uneven numbers. I always say that wrong word. I always stumble on it, so I'll just use the huge numbers of COVID positive in the Latino community. Some of the strategies that we've been working on, we're really trying to push for more testing, and Mari-Carmen and Karina, congratulations. We've got more testing happening. We've got almost an entire day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. happening at St. Leo's on Thursday. Very exciting news. Also, I believe the Monday is happening this coming Monday, but will not continue after that. And the longer day will happen at St. Leo's moving forward. So that's very exciting. It's on our Facebook page if you want to help blast that out. I believe it's a drive-through. I think I'm not positive about that. So that's good news for the Valley. We also have been working on finding ways to make sure that we're providing more food opportunities for community members. We have a partnership going with Food for All has a partnership going with La Favorita Market. We get referrals from the health clinic and IsoCare and the school district. And for a family who tests positive, we work to get them some food within a few hours so that they don't have to go out. So we're really trying to encourage people to stay home, and often people we're finding are not prepared for a positive result, and then need some support to be able to stay home. So we're really grateful that that is happening for our community members. Also, we got a little clarification on the process between CURA and the CARES Act. CURA is to help families who test COVID positive, and CARES is to help folks who have been affected by COVID. So La Luz is the conduit to that funding here in the Valley. So for families who are in need of financial support, either because they have tested positive or need rental assistance or those kinds of additional supports as a result of maybe losing a job or something else that has a result of COVID, they can go to La Luz, and there is a process for them to go through to apply for funding. So that is also on multiple Facebook pages of the process, and it's outlined. So for those of you who don't use Facebook, I believe the county La Luz website has the information as well. So there are ways of getting that information if families are in need. I think that's it for the Latinx COVID task force. Ryan and Karina are going to talk a little bit about the Springs update, Springs projects update.
Yeah, absolutely. So our last Springs Municipal, Springs, my gosh, so many acronyms. Sonoma Valley Citizens Advisory Commission meeting. Took me a minute there. We looked at a project outside of the Springs at a winery. And then the one that's most pertinent to us, which I think Karina also had on her docket, was the Siesta Way Apartments, the senior affordable housing 92 unit apartment complex. We did unanimously approve the projects with conditions that look at traffic onto Siesta Way, broadband access to residents, as well as the amount of hardscape that's present in the project, and if it can be scaled back, as well as more inclusion of native trees onto the project itself. So that's a quick and dirty update. We did create an ad hoc committee to work with Permit Sonoma on the winery working group, which looks at winery events within the valley itself. It affects us, and it affects the Springs in the sense of traffic, obviously, during high season for wineries. So that's my update.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Karina, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, my document just printed. Here we go. Updates received from Permit Sonoma on December 9th. So you guys just received the update from Ryan on the Siesta project, also known as the Senior Housing Project. The next one is Spring Specific Plan. No update since November 23rd. SDC Specific Plan, no update since November 23rd. Domino's, no update since November 23rd. Boys Food Center, as of December 9th. Design Review Committee review anticipated for January, February of 2021. Midpen Housing, no update since November 23rd. And Boys at Boulevard Bridge, as of December 9th, all abutments and wing walls have been poured. Girders are in place. From the environmental standpoint, all concrete below the top of bank elevation has been poured and will meet the 28-day cure requirement on Friday, December 11th, 2020. This means no more progress reporting extension requests to the SF Water Board as necessary. The deck pour is yet to be determined. Bridge is still on track to open to traffic next summer. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, sorry everyone, I have paint on my hands, that's what that is. Karina, quick question. The mid-pen housing, is that the current existing project next to Flowery, or is this the project on Verano that was part of the hotel, the Verano Hotel project?
The Verano Hotel project.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next part of the chair update is budget.
Sorry, that's me again. Yes, I will share my screen real quick. Here we go. Considering the invoices from last month, the available amount for community projects is $5,162.20. There is, however, an outstanding invoice that possibly will change as the company increased the rate, and we're discussing, we're looking into the increase in rate. So the total amount will possibly change the next month. Thank you.
Thank you. And you've got the last item as well. CalTrans, any update there?
No update as of now.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the, go
If
ahead,
I-
I'm sorry.
Sorry, if I may, I just want to provide an update on my end, the county side. The MAC meetings from previous months are being uploaded to our YouTube page, Supervisor Gorin's YouTube page, which will include Spanish versions of the MAC meeting. And I will also say this in Spanish for those that connected late. Solo para avisarles que los videos de las reuniones previas del MAC van a estar en la página de YouTube de la supervisora Gorin con las versiones en español. Por si acaso no las escucharon en vivo, van a estar en la página de YouTube. Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias. As you mentioned, are there any comments or Avram?
Thank you, Karina, for the update. Just looking at the budget, it looks like our budget, which is $10,000. The only money that we're actually spending is to put on our meetings. So that's our allotment for the springs. We get to put on the meetings. Hallelujah.
It's a good thing they're really good meetings, Avram.
That's quite true. That's quite true. We've got quite a budget to really get things going here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Supervisor Gorin will not be here with us this evening, so we'll move on to the next item.
Sorry if I may through the chair. She did want to express, yes, that she unfortunately cannot make it as the Board of Supervisors meeting is still happening tonight. And she does want to wish everyone a happy and safe holiday season.
Thank you. Thanks, Karina. So we're on to our discussion item. We thought that it might be a good time to maybe reflect on some of the things that we've accomplished, some of the things we wish we could do, just kind of a moment to step back and just talk a little bit about what the journey we've been on, and just to hear from the council members and public comment as well about our work. So it's always, I always like to take the time to kind of step back, especially towards the end of the year. So this is your opportunity to comment on some of the things that we've accomplished or not accomplished, or
Would you care to open it up to council members first and then public comment?
yes, absolutely. Sorry, I meant to, yes, it's to council members first. Council member Lely.
Thank you. Well, I have to say the work that this body has put into find its footing, create a base, upon which to build on has been amazing to be a part of and to witness. And specifically within this last year, what everyone has accomplished is really phenomenal. And I applaud everyone for their hard work. And I am so grateful that everyone is very community driven and community minded, because I feel like sometimes that's not necessarily the case with commissions or councils like this, or could not be the case. But we're very dedicated to the place that we live, and it really shows. So I look forward to seeing the work that comes out of the food sustainability, COVID testing, tenant rights. That's gonna come up very quickly. So I think that's, in my heart, is where the focus we need to turn our focus with all the other work that this body's doing. So that's my nutshell there.
Thank you.
I'll speak. It's been I agree with Ryan. It's been great to witness and to participate in all of this, and to see what has happened, to see the organization that Iris and Mary Carmen have going with the emergency preparedness, and getting that out and rolling that out, during a pandemic and the fire season. Is great. I look forward to next year getting our Fire Safe Council going, and supplementing that from another angle. So I think that what we've done is really good, and the space that we've made for our community on the equity and the racial things, they all feed into the direction that we're heading, to build a resilient community for ourselves. To all of these things will make us stronger in the end. I think we have just to wake up and follow our path. And I think we're on the right track. And thank you for Ryan for your service, and for your guidance for the first year, and Maite for this next year. And I got another year here. We'll see what happens next year.
Thank you, Ray. Avram? I think.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Well, I'll piggyback. It's been a wonderful experience to me to work with all of you, because I know how passionate you are about the Springs and serving the community. I have a little different take. I think the work on emergency preparedness and the Fire Safe Council was incredible, with the amount of tools you had to work with, and your own personal time. I think you did an outstanding job. But we're almost 2 years into this, and I would hope that we would have accomplished a bit more. I think, and also I would have loved to have seen more community participation by participants within our community. I don't know how we can sort of up that, but I think that should be a goal, is to have more community input into our meetings. There are people that do attend fairly regularly, but I'd like to see a broader brush stroke of our community. I know we've talked a lot about it, but I think something could happen on that end that would be great to have more community participation. We'll talk later about the Plaza, but I think there are a number of issues that people have in the Springs, and I think we still need to address them, and actually to have more input as to, at least to the Board of Supervisors, in terms of our recommendations. So I applaud everybody on the council for all their work. And Ryan, I agree with Ray. You led us the beginning to get this council started, and you did a phenomenal job. And Maite has carried that on, and I know we'll take it to new levels. So I would hope that the council would be more productive in the coming year, and that as a community we would have more input into you know, what our community can be. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Iris.
In some ways, I have an opposing view from what Avram said. We're only supposed to have 2 hours once a month. And of course, we usually go over. And in some ways, I do wish that we could do more. I really do. And I don't know how we can do that in a sense within this structure, but within the 2 hours, it's kind of amazing that we've gotten, well, 3 hours once a month. It's kind of amazing that we've gotten, okay, 4, whatever, that we've gotten as much done as we have. So, and I'm frustrated too. I would like to do more. And I guess this is time to put my shot in. I am hoping that we can have our own website to go to in the future. Of course, I'm completely doofus about doing that kind of thing. But I would envision it as a place where we could have all the information in a relatively concise form about, in this case, the COVID testing, where people can get food, where they can get rental assistance, because there are numerous organizations in the Valley that are covering those issues. And we are not able to get all the word out. And you know, they are separate organizations. We've got LaLuz and the SOS and you know, Sonoma that is Sonoma Overnight, and Fish, and lots others, Vintage House. So, you know, I wonder if we would be better served with having an actual website. That's my toss out. And I do thank Ryan very much for you know, guiding us through the first year, giving us you know, modeling good behavior. and thank you to Maite and Ray also, and to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. Mari Carmen.
Alrighty. Well, I think we have a lot of things to be obviously grateful for. Yeah, I think that I've only been here for 6 months, so having observed the group from outside before, you know, I know that with Ryan and like the people that I've known for a long time, but also a pleasure meeting, you know, Iris, Avram, Ray. I've worked with Ellen before, at meeting Jay, where has been accomplished, definitely. I agree with everyone. And obviously one of the main things that we want to do is also appreciate and thank the community members that have joined our meeting, that have joined us in taking part of initiatives, part in the community. And I think that's one of the most important things is that we have started a foundation for change in our community, that even though as a MAC and being a government entity, we cannot do correctly, but together with the community, hearing the voice of the community we could do it. So I think that is one of the most important things that has started, and definitely that's a big seed planted for the community. And thank you to everyone who helped plant this seed.
Thanks, Mari Carmen. So Ryan, thank you for, as everyone has commented on, laying the foundation to have this group function. And you modeled, as Iris said, good behavior. You taught us how to behave and how to communicate with one another. So thank you for that, because you're just this calming force. And I appreciate that very much about you. So thank you. And it was a pleasure to serve as the vice chair alongside you. And thank you. Thank you for your hard act to follow. So I appreciate everything you did to make this work.
Well,
And I think,
thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
And I think, you know, and to Avram's point, you know, to get more done, I'm a doer. Sitting is not what I do. It's really tough. Sunday, I had to actually sit, and it was really, really painful for me. So I get it. I want to do more as well. I feel like we have limited time to have those conversations, and and especially in this COVID world, it's really hard to get things done, and it's hard to have that community outreach. But with that said, we have had some pretty high attended meetings, and I super appreciate the people who do show up monthly, who listen to us and who make comments and are very thoughtful and send emails and help guide our thinking. So to that, I'm very grateful for. And sometimes it takes a while for things to catch on. So we're, you know, like a fine wine, we're getting better with time. And we have accomplished quite a bit of things. We've put together a map your neighborhood group. We were working on a fire safe council. We've got some shelters identified. We have all these things that we didn't have before. And for me, one of the things that this group does is it creates a place for people to speak where they didn't have that before. And if nothing else, we hold that space for people to be able to come and share their thoughts. They may not always show up, but there is a space, and we didn't have that before. So Avram, I hear what you're saying. And I think, you know, hopefully when we get to all be in the same space, so that energy will mount even more, and we'll be able to get even more accomplished. But I do think creating the space for people to speak is an important accomplishment that we've been able to do for this community. There's, you know, the Board of Supervisors is our representation, and Susan's got a big area. So it's nice that we've got a place. So, so thank you for that. Thank you to all of you. I truly enjoy working with all of you and having the opportunity to get to know you better. So, we will do more. More will happen. Of that, I am certain. Should we open it up? Is there anyone else who wanted to say anything else before we open it to public comment? Okay. Shall we go to public comment and see if anyone wants to add anything?
Okay, for those members of the public who wish to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom and you will be allowed to make your comment. Please state your name before you make your comment. I see one raised hand, Chair Iturri.
Sure.
How much time would you like to allocate for public comment?
Well, until he's done. You know, within reason.
Okay.
We
Tom,
don't have to use the timer tonight.
go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. I appreciate the being recognized, and I'll try to be brief. Like Avram, I come out of a business background, and I shared at the beginning of all of this, I shared some urgency about this group and had great ideas about what might be accomplished in the first year. And, you know, if we had gone the conventional civil society philanthropic approach, we probably could have taken $5,000 spent on meetings and invested that in a big party and, doubled or tripled that in terms of philanthropic donations, and we'd feel like we were making great progress. But that's not what this group is about. And and I know early on I was pretty tough on Ryan. I was skeptical of the fact that he was wearing two hats in his role with the Citizens Advisory Commission. But I feel like, having watched as this group has matured and coalesced, I agree that Ryan's steady hand on the rudder, as it were, through this first year has really served this group well. And it's allowed Supervisor Gorin to feel that this group is pointed in a good direction. And so I really appreciate his leadership in helping give us a solid platform for the years ahead. Under Maite's leadership, it feels like we're really blossoming now based on that good platform that Ryan helped establish. And, it just feels like she brings a compassionate and well-informed and caring tone to this group, which is, I don't know what other groups that operate this way with that tone. And so I think that'll serve us extremely well. It's currently serving us very well. In terms of, like Ray said, this project that Iris and Mary Carmen have set up, the Mapping Your Neighborhood exercise, off to a very promising start. And I think with the fire safe neighborhoods and the disaster preparedness, these are things that cross-cut all the divisions that we have in our community, I think can really bring us together. And as for specific accomplishments, I think we've really created a space for conversations that weren't happening before. They were happening in private, but they weren't happening in any public space. And you all have really created that here, and you should be commended for that. And I want to point in particular to the session on race a few meetings back as really a high watermark. And I saw its effect bear fruit last night in front of the city council, the Sonoma City Council, where a number of speakers, some of whom had participated in that event, some of whom had kind of tested their openness about talking about these things in public at the event you all hosted, were able to stand up in front of the city council last night and speak truth to a unified power of the school district, the sheriff's department, and the elected representatives in the city of Sonoma, as well as a couple of principals, all of who came together to present a version of events that didn't map to what we all know, many of us know, to be the reality of lived life in the Springs. And so you can't quantify these impacts, but you should know that they're happening, and you should know that those of us out here are watching and appreciate what you're doing, and keep going, because you're making good progress. Well, those are my comments tonight. I hope I didn't go too long.
That's great. Thank you, Tom. Really appreciate the comments.
Thank you. Para los miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario público, por favor usen la aplicación de levantar mano en Zoom y se les otorgará el permiso para hacer su comentario. Y para los que nos están viendo a través de Facebook en este momento, para poder participar y hacer comentario público, tienen que conectarse a través de Zoom. He puesto la información en el comentario dentro de la página de la supervisora Gorin, tanto como la mía, con la información de cómo conectarse para poder hacer comentario público.
Gracias, Karina.
I don't see any more raised hands.
Okay. Well, we just wanted to take this opportunity to just kind of step back for a minute. So thank you. Thank you all for participating. We will go to the ad hocs. I think there's some exciting information to share on what's been happening with the ad hocs. So we'll start with emergency preparedness.
Want me to
Sure.
take it away? We had, on December 5th, we had a really good meeting of potential block leaders for the neighborhoods. Boyce Springs was really well represented, but we don't have, definitely, we need more outreach in other neighborhoods. It was great to see the enthusiasm of the people who came, and not everyone is going to or feels that they can be block leaders for various reasons, some disabilities and things like that. But it was really exciting and a great conversation. The model was as if we were a neighborhood, and that's to teach people how to conduct block leader, or excuse me, neighborhood meetings of their own. And it was great because people shared a lot of skills, equipment. It was noted that there were all sorts of ladders in our neighborhoods, which was okay. I guess we're okay there. And ladders and garden hoses. There were other things that were kind of lacking, but it also prompted good discussions about what's important in terms of, you know, having people who might be able to help out with people having, in a sense, you know, at least a mini crisis in an emergency, and kind of freezing up and not knowing what to do. So there's that part of it. And we've hired Dana Bravo to be the employee for the grant that we've received. She's officially an employee of the Sonoma Ecology Center. And that's a real exciting part. They're going to be working on getting her phone numbers and websites and email addresses and all that. And I don't know, Maite, do you know any more about what else going on with Dana?
No, not yet. I think they're in the hiring process. The Ecology Center received a grant and hired Dana to help us with the Map Your Neighborhood project. So hopefully we'll be able to get working with her soon. And she's bilingual and lives in the neighborhood and grew up here. And so lots of, and so at a future meeting, we'll have her come and share what she's been doing. So we're super excited about that. Thank you. Mari Carmen, is there anything you wanted to add to it? Do you want to talk about when you were going to do something in Spanish for folks?
Yes, well, first of all, I just want to thank the Ecology Center for being the nonprofit that is taking on this project that will be continuing with us, to make that clear that the MAC is going to collaborate but not directly host the MAC neighborhood. It will be through the Ecology Center, and so we're deeply appreciative for this opportunity to host us, or to make our dream come true. And I do want to reiterate that we will be advocating for the Spanish class as well. So we will be providing this feedback to a consultant, in this case, the outreach worker, that will be putting together the plan with this feedback. So queremos pues sí reiterar, ¿verdad?, de que este programa de Conozca su Vecindario va a ser un proyecto bajo el Centro de Ecología de Sonoma, que va a funcionar como un consultante para lo que es este consejo municipal, ¿verdad? La persona ha sido contratada directamente por el Centro de Ecología, y nosotros vamos a darles retroalimentación de qué es lo que nos gustaría ver en nuestra comunidad, pero no va a ser un proyecto directamente de este consejo, sino que va a ser por medio del Centro de Ecología. Así que les invitamos que están interesados a participar en este proyecto de Conozca su Vecindario. Esté atento a la información que va a estar teniendo Ecology Center o Centro de Ecología. So if you're interested in knowing more about MAC, we would like, please be on the lookout for the information that Ecology Center will be putting out soon. Thank you.
Thank you. We have, I'll give a little bit of a shelter update. There's conversations happening. We've identified, we've surveyed locations, and there's conversations happening about locations being cataloged and added to the list of potential shelters in the Springs area. So that's moving forward as well. So exciting stuff there too. So very pleased with that work. Did you have a question, Ryan?
Yeah, can we know the potential locations, or are they under wraps until everything's finalized?
I think I don't want to speak out of turn yet, so I will let you know. They are, I can tell you where we visited Flowery, El Verano, Altamira, Hannah, and the Boys and Girls Club were all the areas that were looked at in the Springs. Some were more conducive and appealing than others.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Ray, do you want to give an update on the Fire Safe Council?
We haven't.
Sorry, Ryan.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question of Iris about the Map Your Neighborhood? Iris, what would you say was the biggest takeaway that you got from the community? Was there excitement about it? Was there trepidation? Was like, where do you find that the community fell, or was there anything more that they were hoping for, or ideas?
What I always talk about is that there is a plan to, the goal is to build a structure on top of Map Your Neighborhood. Map Your Neighborhood's the very base level, besides just, your individual household preparedness. And our hope is that we will build a structure on top of that, and that's where Ray comes in. And I look at it as things building up and kind of meeting in the middle, so that everything perks down and goes up. And people are excited to have some attention put to emergency preparedness, and they are enthusiastic. It seems to be a big need in the neighborhood. Most people that I've talked to feel some amount of trauma from the fires. For myself, 2017 was the most impactful, just because it was, the first time it happened. But I think we're all kind of traumatized from it, and to greater and lesser extents. And that is having something that can address taking care of each other and feeling more prepared is important to people. And did that answer your question? Is that?
Yeah, I feel like it did. Were there any big takeaways as far as things that people were like screaming out about, like, oh, we need more of this? And how many attendees were there on the Zoom?
Actually, at one point there were 23. We did have a little bit of problem with the Zoom, but I was quite pleased with that. A larger meeting would be somewhat unmanageable for the format that we were working with, in terms of it being a small group that exchanged information, a lot of information. And I wouldn't say anyone was screaming out for anything more. In a sense, it wasn't the kind of meeting where people were, in a sense, it wasn't that kind of forum, if that makes any sense.
It was well attended and everybody seemed to be excited to be there. They were, and I think anxious to get going. And I think that, the more of these that we can, I think it was a great exercise. It was, it was a mock exercise that you could hold with your neighbors, and we all just kind of participated in it like that and pretended that we were, in a neighborhood. And I think everybody was really enthusiastic and ready to go. I think that, it'll spread hopefully, and we need to help, spread it with word of mouth, and I think it'll eventually propagate out. Our ad hoc hasn't met since our last MAC meeting. Our goals are still the same, to begin the formation of the Springs Community Fire Safe Council in the first quarter of next year. And we need to work on our outreach to get board members and people that have complementary assets, because basically we're forming a nonprofit company. So it'd be helpful to have, and people that have a firefighting background as well. So we need to we want to get as much representation from the neighborhood as possible. So how we do that in the first quarter, we need to talk about in our ad hoc and figure that out. And that's really my update, and follow on from the previous.
One of the things I was very impressed by in Map Your Neighborhood is the amount of talent we have in the Springs. I mean, there are a lot of people with a lot of skills. I'm like, I'm glad I know people, because I have the skills when it comes to that kind of stuff. So there are a lot of impressive people. So that was really nice to see, and that they were all there and enthusiastic about it. So yeah, so thank you to you all for putting it together. Iris?
One thing that I do want to say is that that not all neighborhoods are the same. Specifically, like Ryan's neighborhood, you're kind of, isolated further from houses, and you're so close to the hills. It would be a different, in a sense, kind of neighborhood. You would have fewer numbers of houses or households in that group, and because it's harder to see each other. Also, apartment buildings are an entirely different kind of neighborhood. And I'm not sure exactly what that would look like. The Fedders apartments I don't know what management would do there. Would they want to be in control of it, or would there be blocks of neighbors, one floor, or, floor by floor or something like that. And there are certainly smaller apartments in the Springs area that would need different considerations. So it's not one size fits all. Thanks.
Thank you. Avram, would you like to talk about the plaza?
Sure, love to. Although Ellen speaks so eloquently for us and is a wealth of knowledge going back many, many years, and can really speak to the plaza. What I wanted to do in terms of getting a report, we were sort of moving ahead, trying to understand the amount of funds that would be available for a plaza project, which is under the control of the oversight committee that approves the use of those funds. Just going back historically, when redevelopment ended and the oversight group took over the distribution of those funds, which included redoing the sidewalks and lighting in the Springs, which was a great project. There was an amount left over, we understood, of $2 million that would be set aside for future projects, including the plaza. We did find out that it's no longer $2 million. It was $1.5 million. We're trying to understand what the $500,000 was spent on over the last 6 years. We don't know at this point. However, with the path moving forward, I think Supervisor Gorin, who was not here for our presentation on the Plaza at our last meeting, I think reviewed Ellen's presentation and responded to Ellen in regards to the Plaza presentation. So what I'd like to do is read that email because it really defines where we're going with the Plaza. And this was from Supervisor Gorin. She said, I need to do some preparation and investigation at the county to figure out who at the county would be working with us on this. I suspect it's general services, but it's complicated. I don't know what was complicated, but I'm sure we can find out. We need to do outreach to the community to solicit community members interested in this project and to notify neighbors of this project, which I think is a great idea. I think we wanted to include, obviously, members of our community and our ad hoc committee. It may be a design build function or an RFP for design and then construction, but we need to outreach to the community about goals and functions of a tiny section of the parking area. So I guess the vision is a tiny area within the parking area. I don't know what that would look like. I don't know what tiny is. So far, no one at the county has the capacity to maintain it if it is built. So we need to talk about a special district with assessments to maintain it, or contracting with very little funding. I would think in the Plaza project, it could be considered in that. As I said, it's complicated. So I'll work with Katrina and my staff with the county to develop a way to move forward. So we'll be waiting for Supervisor Gorin to get back with us so that we know how to move forward, and then connect with you and Avram to present this process to the MAC for approval. So we'll get that, I assume, sometime in the future. The CDC definitely will not be the agency coordinating this project. All work.
Would you tell them what the CDC is, since CDC is in all of our vernaculars right now? But
Development Corporation, is that right? Community Development Corporation. What? I mean, it is the community. Yeah, Community Development Corporation. It was the successor to the redevelopment agency, from my understanding. Is that correct, Ryan? Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. Okay, but it is the oversight board that administers the funds and actually approves funds, from my understanding, of the bond that was floated. So all work will be coordinatedly with and through me and my office and the county. So Supervisor Gorin has given us a direction, and we look forward to the path forward. As I said, from my understanding and of the history, it's been on the books, so to speak, for 6 years. And at one time there was a plan through the Community Alliance of what a plaza would look like. And from my understanding, I think it included the whole parking area. I think we looked at that plan in the past. Obviously, that's changed. So until we hear back from Supervisor Gorin, I don't know exactly what direction we're going to go in, other than putting together a plan to be approved by the MAC.
Thank you, Avram.
You're welcome. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take questions, either from the public or anybody on the.
We'll start with council, and then we'll move to public, and then come back if there's any additional comments. Is there any questions or comments for any of the ad hocs by the council? Ray?
I have lots of questions, but I'm not sure that I'll be able to get to them. Two, I guess. I mean, it seems like parks is the logical department. If we could have a tiny park there, a little tiny pocket park or whatever, and they're down this way anyway, and they seem to have money. I keep hearing, you know, I heard something about them having money. The other question would be, could we, I mean, this is theoretical, just if we had enough money, $1.5 million, which it seems like we have now, and that was magically the price of that building, could we use it to buy that building and then expand okay, we'll say, well, we're not gonna be able to, I don't know, the county's never gonna want to buy that building. There's a lot of problems with this conversation, but just theoretically,
Well,
could we use it?
here's what I can tell you, Ray. It was 5 million to start out with, but obviously that money was used. And from our understanding, there's $1.5 million in this fund.
Okay.
Although
I'm curious about the ways we can use it, though. I mean, what are the hamstrings on it?
well,
I
that's
know
what
that
we-
Ellen was trying to look at that earlier, or is Susan going to try to dictate kind of a project that she's got in mind?
well, I think from her email to Ellen, it said everything's going to be coordinated through her and her office and the county. So we'll be having, I guess, further discussions with Supervisor Gorin to understand that. Again, I think this was a general framework that she was laying out in response to our presentation, because she wasn't there at the presentation. So I was hoping for a larger project, something a bit more grand than a tiny little area.
That's what I was thinking. If we could take that money and buy off a big chunk and then worry about funding it later, you know, I know the county wouldn't want to operate that building, but there is a tenant there, the federal government. It's not a bad deal. I don't know how long their lease
Well,
is.
well, first of all, they want more than that for the building. The last time I heard,
Do
they
they?
want $3
What
million.
do they want for that?
But yeah, I had heard the figure. I talked to their agent several months ago, and I think the figure was $3 million, which is kind of absurd. But in terms of just its value, but
Okay.
that's their value. I would like to explore other things, but I don't know if we're going to have the capability to do that. Obviously,
Private-public partnership or something.
we're going to need a meeting with Supervisor Gorin to kind of, you know, understand more completely the complications, as well as what we're going to be allowed to do or suggest. You know, I'm sorry she wasn't here this evening, but in any case, I just wanted to give an update, because that's where we are right now until we can get a path defined by Supervisor Gorin. We're sort of where we are.
Ryan, did you have a comment? I thought I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, thank you. If my memory serves me correct, this is going back a very long way. The one plan that I saw for the plaza done by Ross Drulis here in the Springs was just the perpendicular parking lot that runs between Highway 12 and Boys Boulevard. That section, that was always slated as being the plaza itself. Granted, there were bigger ideas of taking over the parking lot across the street. The building, to my knowledge, that was definitely a dream. But that's kind of where I always saw the parameters of the park. Not saying that's where it has to stay, obviously, but just for some recollection and historicity of what the working idea and what was designed already for this project.
Yeah, that you are correct, Ryan. There was some talk at one time. The owner of the space that's occupied by the car repair shop had apparently gone to the county and said, at one point, you know, I would like, you know, I'm open to having that purchased to really expand that. And I think the whole idea of a plaza was truly a place where the community could meet, where, you know, we as a community could gather. And I think that space that you just defined would at least be a good start. And, you know, that more than 6 people or 12 people could gather. Obviously, we can't gather now, but in the future, once the vaccine is rolled out. So before we can really move forward, we really need to know the extent of what's possible. Maybe our plans were a little too grandiose, but you got to have a dream. That's what Martin Luther King said, got to have a dream. And my dream is to have a place where the community could truly gather, where we could celebrate together, where we could come together as a community. And so I still have that dream, and I'll push for that dream, but I guess I need to understand more of the mechanics.
Thank you, Avram.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So not seeing any further council comment at this moment. We'll see if there's any public comment.
I did see a raised hand earlier. For those members of the public who wish to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature and we will allow you to make your comment. Para los miembros de la comunidad que desean hacer un comentario en español o hacer un comentario público, por favor, utilicen la aplicación de levantar mano y se les otorgará permiso para hacer su comentario. Si nos están viendo a través de Facebook, ya he puesto la información para conectarse a la aplicación de Zoom para que puedan participar y hacer comentario. There is a general user. If you could please state your name for the record before you make your comment. Chair Iturri, what would you like to set as a time?
4 minutes.
Okay.
Because we're rolling right along.
Go ahead.
Good evening, members of the MAC. Good evening, Chair Iturri. Mario Castillo, here, a longtime resident of the Springs. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm sorry that I missed a moment of reflection and accomplishments. You know, I truly want to congratulate you all for the work that you have accomplished so far. And on that note, you know, I was listening to the different reports from the IHAC, and it's something that strikes me as an area where the group perhaps could expand and do more, as you know, in the coming months and perhaps years, is really to figure out a way to engage the community. And I know that this is something that the group has been trying to figure out a way to get it going. And I know that those groups that have been formed are intended to engage the community. And it, you know, it just strikes me tremendously that we are in this community, in this valley, we are either are bound to, we're at the mercy of the nonprofits, and then where they basically come and take over, where our government fails us. And in this situation, you know, it sounds like that's really what it is. We either, you know, you're talking about whether it's the mapping program, Map Your Neighborhood. You know, it's a nonprofit who's coming in to sort of like provide the funding, the personnel, and then, you know, there you go. It makes me wonder if the person that they hire has the capacity or the ability to really organize and get people involved, engaged. And now we have a report on the Plaza. For years, that conversation has been happening, and nothing seems to have, there doesn't seem to be any movement on that. And you have you basically have a government that doesn't want to incorporate, doesn't say, you know, we sort of like the orphan child out here, where we don't get the funding from the government. And then we're not either wanted by private groups that may want to invest on the Springs either. So it's just a sad affair. And I feel that if this group was able to get the people to support you, perhaps you guys could actually be able to move those agendas that doesn't seem to really get anywhere in terms of really getting to the people and getting the community engaged. And I wish you the best of luck on that. Again, I do what I can to engage and participate. But there's just multiple issues in this valley that concerns me. And as much as I want to participate with you, it's hard for me. And also I'm not very enthusiastic about working with the county either. I'm not a huge fan of the work that current Representative Susan Gorin has done for us. So thank you so much, and I wish you a happy holidays, and thank you for all you have done for us.
Thank you, Mario. I see a raised hand. Is that the?
It might be the
Is there another?
same. Let's see.
It's so tiny.
Here's one more. Okay. Tom, go ahead.
Great. I share some of Mario's concerns as well. I just wanted to say, I think that Avram, that was a very useful report out. I appreciate you and Ellen keeping up with this. And I really also liked Ray's comment about getting parks involved. That does make an awful lot of sense to me. That would be the likely governmental agency for us to be working with. I just want folks to know, I just came across there's been a lot of work in transportation planning policy, and this is going to become a major feature of our housing and climate strategies moving forward. And that's the idea that having parking spaces, it's one of the most inefficient uses of real estate possible. And Eris Weaver, who's the head of the Bicycle Coalition, shared a story, or news article with me recently. The largest owner of parking spaces in the country looking at converting them to alternate uses because they recognize that this is some of the most undervalued land, largely undeveloped. And the whole idea that that land can be sitting there at the center of Boys Springs and being used for private car storage is just an anachronistic issue in our climate crisis. So working with parks, coming up with a solution to getting increased use of the area through improved transportation, but out of private cars, that just makes an awful lot of sense for that area. So I applaud your efforts to keep moving this forward and keep thinking creatively about this really important piece at the heart of the Springs. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, let me stop the clock. I don't see any further raised hands.
Does the council want to comment, any further comment at this point on what they've heard from the public? Mari and then Iris.
Thank you. In terms of community collaboration, I really think that we invite community members to bring ideas to the MAC, that this is something that we're setting a foundation, that though it may be a community representation, we're here to listen to the voice of the community and put that advice or to the county. So there are many things that we work together that can be community initiatives, whether it's a nonprofit or a group. So we really invite you to be creative, to really think outside the box of what would you like to see and how we can work together to make this happen, as we in a sense are almost like bridge between the community and the county. So we really invite you to put your mind into that and like Avram said, dream and you never know where we can get to. So thank you for your time of those that are attending today through Zoom and through Facebook Live.
Iris?
In terms of Tom's comment about parking, something that we haven't talked about addressing, which is for me a really important issue, is transportation in the valley, and better, far improved bus transportation seems really important for our, in a sense, for us to thrive, to make it easy for people to get to shopping and to school, to the library, to all the things we want to do during the day. And right now during COVID, it's kind of a moot point. Nobody's really enthusiastic about riding the bus, but that is an issue that I would like to see us discussing more, and the use of the dollars that go for public transportation. More efficient. I would like to see smaller buses here, you know, to make it easier for people
Thank
to
you.
get on in closer places.
Thank you, Iris. Avram?
Yeah, I appreciate everybody's comments, and maybe we can put transportation as a future topic for the council. For Tom and Mario, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Extremely valuable. Really appreciate your community support behind this. That's the only way it's really going to happen, is for the community to come together and say, this is an important goal for our community. So I want to encourage you to keep coming and to express how you feel about things. And if you can encourage others who feel similarly, we would appreciate that. We had talked about that at the beginning of our meeting, about getting more of the community engaged, because it is truly our community. And the more people that participate, the better our community will be. And so we move forward with the Plaza. And Tamari, Carmen, we are going to have that Plaza someday, one way or the other. So thank you for all your comments and support.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So if there's no further comments or questions about the ad hocs, that's an ongoing item, so we'll get a report at the January meeting as well. The next agenda item is community event announcements. And I'm sure there's some, so what do you got? No? Testing, charla, nothing?
Flu clinic tomorrow at St. Leo's from 3 to 5. Drive-through.
Okay.
So mañana va a haber clínica de vacunas contra la gripe en la iglesia San Leos de 3 a 5.
Thank you. Avram?
Yeah, Mary Carmen, with the new St. Leo's program, are they taking appointments, or is it first come, first serve? Or I know on that Monday pop-up, you could do either.
So this, are you talking about the new COVID testing at St. Leo's?
Yes.
It is through Curative, and they actually have their own website where you put in your zip code and it will show up the different sites in your area, and then you make an appointment there. They usually have about a little bit over 350 appointments per day. And they also do take walk-ins for someone that has difficulties or technical limitations to make appointments. I mean, sorry, so they can walk in without an appointment, because if they couldn't make one.
So just to be clear, is it for the Latinx community only, at St.
This
Leo's,
is,
or is it for the general
and
community?
I don't know, I'll leave it. Karina, is it okay if you mention?
Yeah, so the pop-up testing is for all community members. The pop-up testing is an initiative that is targeted in areas that are highly populated by Latinx members, but it's open to everyone. So starting Monday, the 21st, the Curative, in partnership with the county, will have pop-up testing at St. Leo's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And this week, there is a soft testing available, like Maite said earlier in the meeting, at St. Leo's this Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. On Monday, you will have two locations to get tested. You can get tested at the St. Leo's 10 to 4, or you can get tested at the Park and Ride. It's a walk-up site from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. They have appointments pre-set up for that site, but you could probably still walk up there, and if that's closest to you, or you can go to St. Leo's. I hope that
So
clarifies.
St. Leo's will be on Monday too?
Yes,
thought-
so Monday, the 21st, you will
Oh.
have both options. Moving forward, you will only have the Monday at St. Leo's option.
Okay, so after the 21st, it will be Monday at St. Leo's
Yes.
and
Same.
Thursday also?
No,
Yes.
just this
No?
week. This week only, we have Thursday.
Oh, okay, that's
Yes.
what I wanted to clarify. Good, thank you.
And
But
I,
please
s- and
note
I,
that
and-
Curative actually will be transitioning it to take over the county pop-up sites. So basically, the county has a contract with Curative, and starting with 28, they will be the only site. So technically, they will be moving the Park and Ride site to St. Leo's area, and that's going to be the new site instead of the Park and Ride.
and you broke up a little bit, Mari Carmen. I think I heard you say you don't need an appointment at St. Leo's. You can basically walk up or drive through. They prefer an appointment, but you can show up.
Yes.
Okay,
And as I mentioned, Curative will be taking over the county pop-ups as they have a new contract with them.
okay. Jordy's having a hard time hearing you, Mari Carmen, when you speak. Okay. Is there a charla coming up, Karina?
Yes, the next charla, we're going to be taking a little break next week because of the holidays, but the charlas have been posted on Supervisor Gorin's Facebook page and also on our YouTube page. Azteca will be airing a charla this Saturday from last week, in case you missed it. La charla comunitaria, nos vamos a tomar un descanso la semana que viene, pero este sábado va a estar corriendo a través de Azteca 50 y también está en la página de Facebook de la supervisora Gorin y también la página de YouTube de la supervisora Gorin. La próxima charla en el 2021 es el 14 de enero. El tema va a ser salud mental y otros temas que vamos a estar anunciando más adelante. Así que el día 14 de enero. So the next charla in 2021, believe it or not, will be January 14th. And moving forward, charla comunitaria is the second and fourth Thursday of the month. Just so everyone's aware. Y de aquí en adelante, la charla comunitaria en el 2021 será cada segundo y cuarto jueves del mes. Así que estén pendientes. Gracias.
Thank you. Any other events?
Do you want me to open up to the public or you're doing council?
Sure.
Okay. Members of the public who wish to make any community event announcements, please use the raise hand feature. Si los miembros de la comunidad desean hacer un anuncio comunitario, por favor utilicen la aplicación de levantar mano. Aquí tenemos a Alondra. Adelante, por favor.
Hola, buenas noches. Solo quiero anunciar que Sonoma Immigrant Services estará con un nuevo semestre. Estaremos inscribiendo a estudiantes el mes de enero y las clases comenzarán a principios de enero. También continuamos ofreciendo consultas gratuitas para quienes estén interesados. Gracias.
Gracias.
Alondra, creo que se cortó poquito la comunicación. Creo que lo que dijiste es que tienen clases para ciudadanía.
Sí, estaremos inscribiendo a las personas interesadas en clases de ciudadanía. Son gratis y estaremos inscribiendo a las personas el mes de enero y las clases comenzarán a principios de febrero. Y también seguimos ofreciendo consultas legales gratuitas.
Thank you. So classes, citizenship classes are being, you can register the month of January. They begin in February, and they're also free, legal counseling, an initial consult. And the citizenship classes are also free. And you would get a hold of that through Sonoma Immigration Services. Thank you.
I don't see any further raised hands, Chair Turi.
Thank you. Okay, so our last item is always consideration of future items. So is there consideration of future items for our next meeting? We do have, I'll just finish this. We do have a Department of Emergency. Is that Department of Emergency, is it management, DEM?
Yeah.
I'm learning the acronyms. I'm just it's like I work in two organizations that have a lot of acronyms. So they're going to come and present for us in January.
That is correct.
But there is, there's space for other things. So Avram, what were you going to suggest?
This may be a little picky and not a huge issue as compared to all the other things we need to address in the springs, but I do a lot of walking on our sidewalks. And what I find is that properties are kind of encroaching upon the sidewalk, meaning plants are sort of growing over into the sidewalks from private properties. Some of the sidewalks have a little bit of a hillside, and they're starting to slide down where, a quarter to a half the sidewalk is kind of being taken up, by soil and other trash. But I don't know if it's an item worthy of our council, but it is in our community. And if people use the sidewalks as, that foliage starts to grow out, they're going to have to walk around and maybe even walk into the street. But we want to encourage pedestrian traffic. So I'd like to know what we can do about it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Okay. So, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn our meeting. We set a new record.
I know, isn't that awesome? Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second that.
Okay, everybody seconds it.
We set a lower limit.
We get out of here by 8. Yeah.
I know, isn't that
Yay.
amazing?
That would be a first. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Have a lovely, lovely holiday. I wish you all the very best. Stay safe, stay well. See you in January.
Happy holidays.
holidays.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy
See
holidays.
you, everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Karina.
Please.
Thank you.